again for another Blender technical deep dive. I'm going to teach you how to create the crystalline iridescent structure inside of an abalone shell. I'm going to show you the entire shader tree. I'm going to show you the finished product, and then we're going to jump in and we're going to build it together. I've got my coffee. Strap in, let's go to work. All right, so here is the project. This stemmed from my recent spec ad that I created for Original Grain Watches. They've got a beautiful timepiece that is a partnership, a limited series with Taylor guitars, and it's got an abalone inlays, it's got Taylor guitar reclaimed wood inlay, just a beautiful timepiece. And so I fell in love with the way it looked, and I wanted to create it. So I modeled it 1-to-1 and created a 30-second cinematic piece to highlight that gorgeous timepiece. All right, so let's hit play. There's shot one, right? There's the abalone, and it's got this lovely kind of depth to it, and a lovely surface kind of sparkle and personality to it. And really, what happened is I built this shader, right? I built the shader, I rendered out a path, and it looks gorgeous, right? And the watch looked gorgeous, the hero shots, everything looked perfect. I sent it to a really trusted source of mine, a creative director named Marco. He called me, he said, hey, can you make the abalone sparkle? Other than that, it's just perfect. And I said, yeah, I can make the abalone sparkle. So let's jump into Blender and I'll show you how I did it. And all right, so now we're back into Blender, and let's hop over from this video to my actual file. I'm gonna hit render for you, and you'll see that Cycles this time did a lot of the heavy lifting for me. It was beautiful, straight out of engine. All I really did was a bunch of color correction, really not a bunch. I warmed it up, added depth of field, added some imperfection with noise and whatnot, and just shipped it. It was just beautiful. So I'm going to zoom in here because what we're focused on is this abalone. You can see it's pretty strong here in Blender, and I did that intentionally. Because I already had a beautiful render pass, I knew I had a good solid base, so I wanted to dial this in exactly how I wanted it to look rather than trying to get it perfect in Blender. I knew I could quickly output this thing, and in a couple hours I could be able to jump into After Effects and composite it together and get it exactly what I was looking for. Rather than spending a whole bunch of time in 3D, I could just build it in After Effects and composite it, right? So let's look at the base. This noise group up here, and you'll notice this is just one group, two group, three groups of noise with an additional one here kind of doing a little bit of work. So let's look at this one up here. This is the abalone base, and this was where I started. And so yeah, that was the base color, right? And if I come all the way back out to the end, which is here, right? Let's look at first what I was trying to create. So this is my PureRef board. It's got all my reference images and whatnot. Whereas this shot right here is the reason why I made this watch and this piece. So I saw that, I think it was on Instagram. I was like, yeah, that's going to be my reference, and I'm gonna make this thing, and it's just a gorgeous timepiece. So here's the abalone, and this is kind of where I was going for, right? All this stuff out here, especially that iridescence and this in here. So this is my reference. This was what I was shooting for. I didn't want it that chaotic, but I loved that texture of this piece in the center. But what I decided to do is incorporate some of these big stripes and things while giving a little bit of the sparkle on top, right? So it held true to the nature of the surface, but it added me a little bit of my art direction. All right, enough talking about that. Let's go back in. All right, so we know about this abalone color. That was the base, and if we pop back out, you can see this travels through all of those things, right? And because this is all one object, each link is going to look different, and I was really impressed with it. Anyway, so let's go focus on our hero down here, because that's what we're working on. And next, what I did, you'll notice, I duplicated the entire group, came down here and made another group, and this one is blue overtones, undertones. I think I called it undertones, but it's semantics, right? So what I wanted here was more of this blue range and less of that green, so more of this deep kind of marine blue. And then how do I combine those two together? So I have the marine blue and I've got the teal, right? How do I combine them? Well, I'm going to use another noise, right? And this is going to be my mask, right? And I'm going to use a mix shader using that mask. And if I look at the difference between the mixed version and the green, you can see it adds another layer of complexity, another layer of hues, and it shifts some of those hues around, and it just gives you another layer of control. And it's all about creating control. But again, these are all very simple things that we have so far. They're not real complicated. It's just how you use them and layer them. All right, now up to the hero. So let's go look at the iridescence. And that's what it looks like on its base. And you're right. It's super strong, right? You're thinking, wow, it kind of looks like crumpled tinfoil, right? But that's what I wanted. I wanted to overdrive it so that way I can control it in post. But I didn't want to just do that. And you also notice this principled BSDF up here is being driven by the original color coming from this other guy down here. So it's traveling all the way up, and I've got this color right here that's driving this principled BSDF for the iridescence. Then what I did was I took the original base abalone and I added the iridescence on top of it. So we're maintaining the color all the way through each layer, and we're blending them together, and it creates a layer of complexity. Okay, so we have that. That's the abalone iridescence on top of the base color. And then I'm going to take that blue overtoned and mix it with that iridescence. Again, another layer. And it really gave it a lot of depth. And if you look at the difference, like especially here, right? The difference between just the abalone and now I'm adding those blue tones. See how that shifted that into a deeper, richer kind of thing? And that's the money shot. That's it, right? All right, so enough yapping. Let's go build this thing together. So rather than just deleting this, I'm going to take all this, guys, all these nodes and noodles and things, and I'm just going to Control, right drag across and separate it from the surface. And we'll just take all of that minus the material surface, G, and we'll move it up out of the way, right? Because all I really care about is this guy right now, right? So I'm going to pull this down, keep it out of the way. One thing you probably noticed is you're like, hey, Mark, you deleted the surface, but it's still shiny. How is that? Well, what I did is I had a little bit of a cheat, right? To give me full control over specularity on each independent layer, what I did, if I click here to select my link, you'll see, oh, there's new nodes. Well, that's because, I hit period over here in my outliner, I have a surface, which is a glossy layer. So if I was building this watch for real, what I would do is I would acquire the wood, acquire the abalone, the skill to make a watch, don't have that. And then I would put the wood in, right, shape it, inlay it, however they do that, they're wizards. Same thing with abalone, inlay that in, and then I would put a clear coat on top of all of that. So the wood has its own specularity, the abalone has its specularity, its reflectivity, its metallic nature, and then on top of all of that, I'm putting a clear coat. So since I can't put a shader into a principled BSDF, I have to find a way to put that clear coat on top and still give me control of what's underneath. And I did that by just adding a separate object. It's that easy, right? That separate object, if we look at it, it is a principled BSDF to give me the reflectivity and the specularity and all that stuff mixed with a transparent BSDF, the old Blender trick, to give us kind of this glass kind of shader that we can control how much of it we get, right? So if I go transparent, if I go over here, right, I can control that gloss coat on top. That would be the acrylic that they pour on top to seal that stuff in place, right? So let me undo that, and I'm just gonna turn that off because I don't really care about that. All I care about is the abalone. We'll select that, and now there is our abalone, and we have all of our stuff. Okay, great. So first things first, what we need to do is find the old shader. So Shift A, Prince, right? Principled BSDF is the workhorse for now until we get the open PBR. Principled BSDF will do a lot of the work and a lot of heavy lifting for us. All right, so Shift A, noise. Everything starts with noise with Mother Nature. Control T to give us the mapping. This time around, I went with generated instead of object. Object a little bit more flexible. Generated helped get the look I was looking for in this case. And that's all what artistry and creative direction, art direction, your eye, your taste, as we move into the AI age. Taste is what's going to make you different and making those decisions, right? So make those decisions. Okay, so if I put this noise texture up here and we view this principled, there it is. All right, beauty. Again, like I said before, scale, finicky in Blender, value, enter, oops, excuse me, I typed value, I thought, value, right, enter, shift A, map range, enter, drop. I always do the, there's a trainer for Cinema 4D that I followed for years because I was a Cinema 4D guy for a long time. Taught Blender, I taught Cinema 4D. Now I'm working primarily in Blender, doing some Cinema 4D stuff as well. So like I'm all over the place, but that's a good thing. I know a lot of different tools. But anyway, Chris Schmidt, who's a Cinema 4D kind of guru trainer guy, his big thing is when you're typing in numbers, don't be finicky, just 5555, right? If I need 5,000 something, just do it like that because it's faster. It saves you microseconds. And if it saves you microseconds, then eventually it will help you get what you're looking for. All right, so straight away, I'm going to crank this roughness up, right? And let's make sure, yeah, we're looking at material output. So our noise is looking a little funky. Let's see, yeah, nothing there. Let's go Shift A, ramp, right? I'm gonna put that ramp right there, and I'm gonna just look at the ramp because all I care about right now is this noise texture, okay? And what we're gonna create is I'm gonna create kind of this base setup here and show you how I control it, and then I'm gonna go into time lapse and just build our base setup. Okay, so this gets me there. If you wanted to, you can see how this one has a little bit of stretching here in the middle. You could also take your map range and make 3 of those. So if we go G, you can make 3 of those and then do a Shift A, combine X, Y, Z, right? And then you can go map range into X, another separate map range into Y, into Z, and that would give you the independent control over the independent kind of directions. So if you're unfamiliar with how to do this, go check out my wood grain tutorial. That's where this wood grain shader came from. I teach you how to do this entire thing in depth. I'm not going to do that here because I don't want to waste your time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hop out of time lapse. I'm going to get us a base setup, and then we'll work on the iridescence, which is the key here. So I'll be back. All right, so I've got the first group set up. It's not all that pretty, but it's fine. All we need is some color to look at, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up in here and we're going to add, we're going to take the roughness back down a little bit because I do want some specular in this thing, right? So I want some highlights. And I'm going to crank the metallic a little bit. I don't want to go full because then we'll lose it, right? But I do want some of that sheen, all right? So we'll do that. I'll take the brightness, do that, right? And let's take the value back up a little bit, right? Just to give us a little more color, pull saturation, maybe take that back a little bit, just a little bit, a few more little tweaks, right? A little bit less saturation in there, just so it's not so powerful. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this group, Shift D, and I guess you gotta Control Z. You gotta take all of it. I wish it would grab the group, but it doesn't. It's fine. It only grabs the box. Okay, and now if we look at that same shader, all I'm going to do is change some settings. I'll be right back. All right, I think that's good enough. Let's blend these two together. So I'm going to take a Shift A, mix shader. Right, we're going to drop a mix shader in here. Zoom in. I'm going to take the shader on the bottom, which is this noise 02 that I just created. Right, there's it needs to be noise 02, F2, like that. Always stay organized. All right, so there's that, and we're going to come up here and we're going to grab the principal BSDF from this other one and drop it in. And now if we look at it, now I can mix those two together. Control A, B, decide which version I like. If I want a little bit more of this other one sliding through, I like that little slip of blue that slides through that. That's really, really nice. So I'm going to go with that. Okay. All right. So there's our base abalone color layer kind of thing. And we can even have custom metallic for one of these, right? If you wanted to go super kind of wonky, you can make one of them really metallic. You got to be careful though, because it can cause some artifacts. As they blend together, you might get some edges there, especially if you're using denoising. So just be careful with that, and you'll be okay. Okay, so rather than just a straight mix, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and we'll just do it super fast. Shift A, noise texture, drop that in, and let's grab all of this. G, slide it back, put our noise up here. Control T, that gives us our mapping, right? And then we're going to go Shift A, ramp, right? And we're going to put the factor to the ramp, right? The color to the shader, and the color to the shader. And now we can, let's look at this. And again, we're going to need to do that. Let's move this up. Value. Oftentimes when I'm building these, when I start, I'll set up a generic shader group that gives me all of these map ranges and everything already in it. And it's a lot faster. So I advise that, right? So set up one group and then you can just reuse it. Okay, so this now becomes our factor. All right, it's already there. So now if we preview this, we can control where this thing comes through, right? So if I start tweaking these back, right, you can see that's super abrupt, but you get the idea. Now I can decide where this thing should live based on noise patterns, right? And I want it kind of soft, and I think I want, come on, white channel. I think I want more of this one, right? So we're gonna, let me zoom in. I'm gonna grab this black, and we'll just kind of, yeah, that's what I want. And so I'm gonna swap these, I think. And we're gonna go that way, right? It doesn't really matter. This is just kind of what it is, right? And I'm just gonna make this bigger. So we'll make this much bigger, like that. Yeah, and you can even shift this through, get whatever pattern you want, right? So now if I look at this mix shader, there it is. And if I cut that out, and you can see it just adds that little extra layer of depth, which is kind of nice. All right, iridescence time, right? Let's be organized, always stay organized. F, and we'll call this mask, like that. And we'll go in, and I can make that label bigger, right? And now I can take that and G, and move that out of the way. Now, grab this, G, move that out the way. Okay, so now we have our color. Let's build our iridescence. So what I'm gonna do, let's zoom in. I'm gonna build it up here. Actually, let's take this mask. I'm just gonna pull it down. All right, and I'm gonna shift right drag just to create a noodle reroute. That way I can do that, right? Just keep it neater, okay? So Shift A, principle, BSDF, boom. And for the iridescence, I tested, honestly, a lot of different versions. Metallic shader, all these different types of shaders. But the principle, it gave me what I needed. I needed metallic, I needed all these different options that aren't available, right? So to save us a little bit of time, actually, no, this is a different shader. So no saving time. Shift A, Voronoi, right? This is the tool that you're gonna walk away in your tool belt, is how to create these custom normals, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. So let me look at this Voronoi, right? And straight away, scale, value, enter, Shift A, map, space R, drop it in. I'm gonna set this to 555, 22, and that way I can control this like so. I'm also gonna unclamp that. I could probably go 5555, and that might, no, that's the other way around. So 50, 555, that's fine. We'll at least leave it like that, okay? So I'm gonna set that like that. And already you can kind of see this effect happening. We're getting this cellular kind of structure on the surface here, and that's perfect. But Control T, let's map it to the surface, put it up here, right? Always mapping to the surface. rather than just mapping to the surface. Let's for now, I'm gonna put that into the color channel just so they're all tied together. And I'm gonna G move all these over. Right? I'm gonna G, I'm gonna move this over. Right? And I think it's Control H, no, Alt H, no. Anyway, I hit ports. I don't know the shortcut. All right, so so what I'm going to do is, rather than just the plain old Voronoi, right? I'm going to grab the Voronoi and I'm going to mix in another noise into the input vector. So this vector coming into the Voronoi, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab this setup down here. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to select all those nodes and we're going to go Shift D, move them up, Alt P to separate them out, and G, slide them up here, right? And let's move these G down like so. G, move it over. Lots of room with when you're slinging noodles around. Okay, so what I want to do is go Shift A, mix color, right? Right, and I'm going to take the actually no, it's not a mix color. I want to go Shift A, mix vector. That's what I'm looking for, mixing a vector. Okay, so we're going to take the factor, put it in here. We might switch that to color. I honestly don't remember. And if I take this now and I put it into this vector, you'll see that it is mixing this other noise pattern into our Voronoi, right? And that's how you get these lovely little swirlies, right? Well, I don't want swirlies. I want just a tiny little bit of distortion in here, just so it's not perfect, right? And you can control the scale of that, so you can get like this really cool little texture like that. And if you scale down the Voronoi, which is this one, if we take these two guys, these map range and this value, and we Shift D, bring it up here, and put that into this. Now we can control the Voronoi scale as well. And even if you animated that, that would be pretty cool. All right, so if we look at our principle, that's what it looks like. That's not very good. So I'm going to control drag, and I'm going to drag this to kind of a blue for now, just make it kind of dark, right? Not black. My mouse got stuck. There we go. I'm going to make it like that, just a dark blue. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take this now, and I want to drive that distance into a ramp, right? We're going to take this ramp and we're going to put the color of that ramp into the metallic of this shader. So now we're getting the color from the shader and the metallic nature. Okay, so depending on how tight you make this ramp will dictate kind of how your metallic nature happens, right? And we'll come back and tweak that more later too. All right, I'm also going to take my Voronoi. Let's move these up here. Let's collapse that mix. We don't need to see the noise texture or the mapping anymore, or this mapping or this coordinate, like so, right? Just tidy up those nodes, save some real estate, do yourself a favor, and that will keep everything nice and neat. Okay, let me move all these up. G, like so. Okay, so you can choose to normalize if you want to. I left mine off, I think. So that gives us this guy. Again, you can control the roughness here of this. You can control the lacunarity, which doesn't seem to be doing much, does it? Huh, that's interesting. But this does, for sure, right? Yeah, there you go. I think on mine, I went really subtle on the blend here. That's the scale of that. So over here on the blend, I went really kind of subtle, and then on my Voronoi, I went really kind of small, right? And I clamped that down as well, coming out of that, right? So it gave me a little bit more of kind of, so if I look at this, gave me kind of more of this blocky kind of structure. And I made it really tiny and just controlled this little bit of fall off. And you'll see why here in a second. So let me reset that. Let me pull this back out so we see more of that. And let's pull this back so we see less of that. I want some black holes in there. Okay, so now if we look at the principled, there we go. So now we've got that. And I'm going to take the roughness and we'll pull it down. And we're just going to give it a little bit of that shine, right? Like that. Okay. And all right. So next, what we need to do is we need to take the Voronoi texture that we've created, and we want to modify the normals, right? So if I take this Voronoi and I take this color, and if I go to a bump node and I go bump height, like so, and I take this bump height and I pipe that in here. It helps also if you wear your glasses. That way I can actually see what I'm doing, right? So that gives us the normals that we're looking for. As we're twirling around, now we're getting that kind of movement and that iridescence, and it fakes that subsurface refraction using distorted normals. So strength of 0 or strength of 1, right? So you can dial this into taste to get a lovely little refraction on that surface, right? All right, so rather than blue, right, what I want to do is I'm going to zoom all the way out, and I want to take this color from this dude, and it's going to become the color from our principles. So I need to go find that color, which is this ramp, right? I'm going to drag that out into a reroute, drop it, and I'm just going to drag it over here. Where are we? There we go. I'm going to drag it up here, and I'm going to drag it up here, I'm going to drag it up here to something like that, right? And now I can pipe that into the base color of this principled, and now that color is reacting to the surface, okay? So we're getting there, getting closer, right? Roughness, you can control how much of that shows up, but even at a roughness of 1, like you can see, or a roughness of 0, sorry, you can see the reflections and the specularity and the stuff happening, but we're not getting the shift with the camera, which is the other essential part. It's not just about how light reflects, it's about when does this effect show up. And right now, it's only showing up in the specular, and I don't really want that. So how do we control that? Well, there's this fancy little thing called the layer weight. So Shift A, layer weight, right? And if we zoom in here, and if I take this and I go Shift, actually I'm going to take the Fresnel out to a ramp like that, and I'm going to view that using my node wrangler, and I'm going to collapse this in a little bit just to make it a little bit easier to see. And this gets really finicky. That's the one thing I've been kind of not struggling with, but just, I don't know, it makes it a little bit more difficult in Blender, are these knots here. And coming from Cinema 4D, the color ramp in Cinema 4D and Redshift is just really, really nice. Anyway, this Fresnel on this layer weight node, what it does is it looks at the camera and how it interacts with the surface of that object that you've applied it to. And you can see that it travels across the surface. Well, if you are intuitive and you are kind of following along, you can say, well, what if we use that as a mask, right? So let's do that, okay? So what we've got is, here's our base kind of color, right? And what I can do is we also have the abalone up here, which is really bright, but you know, we'll deal with that here in a second. I think it's just the color coming in is just a little bit too much. So if we go Shift A and say brightness contrast, I can drop that in between, and let's zoom in so I can see it, you can see it, and we can drop that down, right? Just to richen up those a little bit, right? You can also take that into the tint of the specular. So let me escape out of that. You can go into the specular and you can pipe that into the tint. so that it's affecting that as well. You can put it into the sheen, the coat, whatever. I'm gonna cut that off just for right now. Okay, so we've got the layer weight, right? And we already looked at that, and it's giving us this interaction with the camera. So I'm gonna pull this down, G, boom. We're gonna go find our color, which is this guy, right? The mix shader between our two color shaders with the mask driving the blend. And what I wanna do is I wanna take this abalone up here, this iridescence, and so I'm gonna frame that. Iridescence, I think is how you spell it. I don't know. I'm not a speller. I'm not a typer. I'm an artist, creative director, whatever. So yeah, no judge. All right. So we're going to take, what I want to do is I want to take this original color over here minus the blue tones, right? Or whatever tones that is, right? I'm going to go Shift A and I'm going to make a add shader, right? I'm going to drop that in over here. And I'm actually going to drop it on that noodle going to the output. Okay. So what do I want to add on top of that? Well, I want to add our abalone, our iridescence. So I'm going to add that like that. And then we get that, right? So now we're again staying in the color range, but now we're adding things on top of it. Okay. So next what I want to do is I want to go back to the flat color and I want to mix this new overdriven thing into that. Okay, so Shift A, mix, like so. And I'm gonna mix the original color. So I'm gonna take this mix shader, which is driven by that mask, and I'm gonna mix, actually it's not that. Let me get rid of this guy and go Shift A, mix shader. All right, mix shader is what I want. And I'm gonna mix the iridescent with the color, right? So I'm taking the color and I'm mixing in the iridescence and I'm blending them together. And this is not like a true Photoshop blend, it's just a fade, right? So I'm deciding how much of that effect I want showing through. So you can art direct how much of this blown shader iridescence that you want through it. However, rather than just a factor, what if we come down here and we grab our layer weight and we pull it up and we use its color as the factor? All right, remember this layer weight gives us this thing, right? So I'm gonna take this white and zoom in, right? And I'm gonna try and get this a little brighter just so we can clearly see the definitive difference, right? So there's our add shader, and there's our mix shader. And you can see that line right through there is that Fresnel, right? It is that thing that is causing that. So if I pan my camera around, if I'm animating my camera, I get this kind of funky iridescence happening under the surface. And you can control it using this blend. I'm just gonna pull that back a little bit. I'll pull this black kind of back that way, and we'll just kind of do that, right? So that way we're getting it kind of like that. And you can look at this, and the best way to control it is to look at this color ramp, because you can see directly what your mask is looking like, right? And this blend will decide how much of that you see, right? How harsh of that line, how faded is that transition between facing or not, or Fresnel or not. Speaking of facing, if I crunch this over to facing, we get a very different result. Facing is whether or not the camera is facing it, right? So it's from the camera's point of view, not the geometry. So it's firing rays at the geometry, and it's saying, is that thing facing me? And if it's not, then like do something with it, right? So you can use this. What I found though is, as you can see, it I don't know, it kind of looks a little bit weird. We can see what it looks like in the mix, right? Literally. And yeah, so yeah. I mean, oops, didn't mean to add that. Yeah, so we could do that. We can also, I think this way is the better if we invert that, right? It kind of gives us stuff on the side. If you want it in the middle, you can just keep it in the middle. Again, at this point, it's season to taste. The structure is there. Now it's just going back out into all of this other stuff and deciding how you want to run it, the scale, the placement, all that kind of stuff. One thing that I want to point out here in this iridescence, so if we just look at it, and I'm going to try and tone some of this back a little bit, right? And let's see. Let me mute this and see see, that's what I thought. Okay, let's come over here and let's look at this guy. Yeah, so he's pretty light. Let's look at this guy and let's look at that guy. I think I want to pull this brightness rather than this ramp, right? So I'm gonna cut this, or not cut it. I'm gonna Control Z. I'm gonna Shift right drag and create a reroute, and I'm just gonna reroute this into. I can't do that because that's an output reroute. I'm just going to delete that reroute. I'm going to drag this brightness and contrast out and reroute it. Right. And if I now reroute that to that, and we look at our iridescent, it should be a little bit better. Okay. Let's go on here. Let's reset this guy. There we go. Right, and we can pull the contrast back. You can really, for the iridescence, like the more crazy it is, the better off you'll be. Right, not like that, not that crazy. Right, but rich colors. Right, and again, you can control where that lives in the metallic and reflections and all that stuff. Again, you can come back and you can mix more of that in. You can take it out, whatever you want to do, and scale this down, scale it up. I'm going to scale it kind of up, kind of like that maybe. And that gives us kind of that look, right? Again, I'm not going to sit and fiddle with it. I'm going to let you guys kind of do it and experiment, right? Actually, I think I want to take it out of that metallic and let's see what it looks like. I'm just going to crank that roughness a little bit just to fuzzy out that, right? Okay, and let's turn these normals up, right? So let's turn those normals to about there, maybe about there. We can also play with the distance if you want to, but whatever. Okay, so that's there. All right, so that's our abalone. What I wanted to show you, however, is you can take this Voronoi and you have color here. So you can also drive normal this way. So if I go Shift A and I go separate, no, I said Shift A, separate, XYZ, right? And if I take the color and I separate the color, red, green, blue, right? In this case, red, green, blue, XYZ, red, green, blue, and I can go Shift A, combine XYZ, put that here. I don't want red, I just want green and blue, right? I could technically drive that into the normal of this shader and get something totally different, right? And now we're getting more of a surface level refractivity or metallicness, right? If I crank up this roughness, crank down the roughness, you can see kind of what's going on. And we can crank up the metallic nature of it. We can crank that up, and now you're getting kind of that business going on, right? And let's see, undo that. Yeah. So yeah, you can add a little bit of red into it, and that gives you a little bit of kind of a blurring effect, right? But you get this polygon kind of popping in and out effect, if that's what you're going for. It's not what I was going for. So I'm gonna put that bump back in here, and I'm gonna go for that right there, right? It's more of that holographic kind of effect there, right? Again, if I wanted to come in here to the mappings, I could split these out and we could custom scale that mapping and how it interacts. Okay, so let's go back to the add shader. Let's go back over here. I just wanted to point out that you could technically split out the color channels of that Voronoi and control the normals that way. What I did for mine, and what was really kind of handy, is I not only took the distance out of the Voronoi into a ramp and mixed it with the layer weight, just like what we were doing before. But then that output, I'm running it through a divide node here, and I'm dividing the color output of this Voronoi. So I'm taking the color output, right? There's the color. I'm ramping it, and then I'm dividing this layer, and it gives me that. So that was just experimentation. It was what happens if. Let me show you another thing I experimented with, right? So not only, not only do I have this guy, but down here, you can see I've got the distance from the Voronoi, this coming down into this color ramp, and it's being mixed with the layer weight, right? So there's my layer weight, there's my facing, that's what I ended up using. Well, what I'm doing is I'm mixing Voronoi with it, and it gives it this kind of interesting like little travel through and a breakup pattern to that nice, perfect circular facing Fresnel thing. Even if I used Fresnel, I would get a different effect, right? But facing for me, in this case, felt right? And then if I come over here, there's the ramp that's controlling it. And again, there's the divide, and it's just, again, layering complexity on top. And that is my final kind of shader. I've got that blockiness that I showed you before, but also it has some underlying complexity with it as well. And then I just, like I mentioned, added it, mixed it, and that's the final shader. All right, so that's the bones. Custom normals. Let's jump into After Effects. Let me show you what I did with this kind of overdriven version here. So let me pop over to After Effects, and what we're looking at here is the first shot, and you can see it's exactly what we saw over there in Blender. But if I turn off the iridescence, so we got it down here, there's iridescence. I've got it overlay mode in at 45%. Right, so I'm overlay blending mode 45%, which you can do in Blender. I just chose to do it in post this time. Right, so let me zoom back out, and I can turn this off, and there's the base. So this is like the first pass. I was happy with the color, the texture, and everything. The pop wasn't there. My friend was right. But second pass out of Blender looks like this, right? And if I turn off the curves adjustment, that's what it looked like coming out of Blender, right? And then I'm overlaying that on top of the original color, and it gives me that controllable depth that I can say, well, how much of that do I want? Do I want 0? Do I want 100%? Do I want 10%, 15%? How much of that sparkle do I want to add back in, right? I chose roughly 45%. Because it added a little bit of, it let it bleed out into some of these other regions, but kept it primarily focused. Where are you? Fit up. It kept it primarily focused in this hotter region where the highlights from the lights are. Speaking of lights, before we wrap up here, I just wanted to show you guys over here in Blender. If I turn off my render in Blender and I turn on all my overlays, most of the shots in this thing that I made are single light reflection card setups. A couple of the shots I needed a kicker just to help fill, but for the most part, it's literally that right there. It's a reflection card and a light. And that was my other challenge for this piece that I wanted to create. Not only do I want to create a one-to-one fidelity of this gorgeous timepiece of a watch, but I wanted to challenge myself to keep the creative as simple and as pure as possible. So a single light with a reflection cards was the right choice. It let the hero shine, except for the hero shot. That was a little bit more complex. I'll let you go watch the video and check that out. But hopefully you get something out of this. Again, it's not about creating abalone in particular. It's about creating tools that you can walk away with, knowledge that you can walk away, tools you can put in your belt that you can then implement into your next shader network. Oh, I remember I did this for that thing. I'm gonna try it here, right? And that's the key. This is a sandbox to play in. Go try stuff, figure it out, mess around, break stuff. If you have any questions, let me know. If I did something that maybe you want to do different, you did different, it worked better, like, let me know. Shoot a comment, and I'd love to hear it. So until next time, keep blending, keep working hard, keep pushing forward, and keep making creative decisions.